It's sleek, it's efficient, with aerodynamic, low drag styling. All this race car technology has now come together in one car that's street legal. That's an incredible feat.
Hey guys, Chris here, welcome back to the channel, and today we're finally going to start taking apart the 1JZ and get it ready to be put into the 1988 Supra. I am so excited about that. So first thing I want to do is just do a quick once over with the video camera to get a good look at the engine, because I'm really forgetful, so I want to make sure that in case I need to refer back to it, I can look at the video. I'm also going to take some high quality photos as well. Before I start taking apart the engine, I did want to talk about some of the parts that I have and some of the parts that are coming in. If you have a two-door Toyota like the Mark III Supra, you'll need a rear sump oil pan. This engine comes with a front sump oil pan because it's out of a four-door Toyota, the Toyota Chaser. If you have like a IS300 you're swapping this into, you'll probably need the front sump. And this I got used, but these are pretty much Toyota parts. One thing that I notice a lot of people don't do in videos is they don't put the part number. So I'll put the Toyota part number for this in the description down below. So that's the upper and lower oil pan. The other part that I have, and this actually is not one I bought, but it came with the engine, is this ECU. Since my car was originally a manual transmission, it comes with a manual transmission ECU, which is going to help me out a ton because I'll be able to swap the car in stock basically and not have to like mess with an aftermarket ECU right away. I will eventually down the line. So there's the part number there. In case you got your swap off an automatic vehicle, you can get yourself a manual transmission ECU. This is off a JZX 100, which is again the Chaser. So the next part here is the downpipe, and this is aftermarket. This is a feature fab. I really wanted to get an OEM one just to start off with, but I figured a downpipe's only gonna make a slight difference. They claim like 25 horsepower or so. Pretty much the downpipe and the exhaust, I'm gonna go all aftermarket on that stuff. Next part, I do have just a bunch of seals here. So I have the front crank seal, the rear main seal, and the two cam seals. Some of these parts are used on US vehicles. One of the cam seals I believe is only used on Japanese vehicles. So I got these off eBay, but they're Toyota parts. I got a Toyota timing belt, also from eBay. So I trust the sellers on there for some of these, depending on their rating and like the reputation and stuff. There's other places you can get OEM parts from Japan, like Nengun, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Here's the V-band for this. I have the timing tensioner, and this one is the timing pulley. I got this off of Drift Motion. And here's an original water pump. This one I got out off eBay, off of somebody who was doing his own JZ swap and decided not to do it. Now I did get another thermostat. I didn't know that the water pump I bought was gonna come with a thermostat. I ended up buying this thermostat before. Other parts that I'm waiting on still, I'm waiting on the serpentine belt, a bracket that's going to help support the power steering when I remove the AC. Either today or later this week, I need to get a pulley puller so I can pull off the crank pulley. One other thing that I did that was kind of stupid is I mounted this I didn't think about it at the time, but when I mounted it, I did mount it on this lower part. So pretty much I need to kind of get the hoist back in here, hold the engine up while I move these mounting bolts for the stand so I can get the oil pan off of there. And then lastly, I need to order probably today or later this week, I need to order some gaskets. I'm definitely going to replace the valve cover gaskets and some of the various gaskets around the engine, like maybe the exhaust manifold gasket, turbo gaskets. I'm not sure though if I should go all the way down and replace the head gasket. I think it's just gonna pretty much be a rabbit hole if I start doing that, so I'm not even sure I'm gonna do the head gasket. So basically we're gonna call this stage one. We're just gonna do pretty much a stock swap into the car. I'm just gonna replace the downpipe and the exhaust with aftermarket, but everything else is just gonna be stock, and trying to get the car running reliably with this engine. Then down the line it's gonna be stage two, and that's gonna be, I don't know yet. I really don't know what that's gonna be yet. So this is just pretty much laying the groundwork, getting a running good vehicle, and just having fun with it. So the first thing I want to do is just hit some of these bolts with PB Blaster, just to start getting them loosened. And then I'll just start taking off random things. I'm going to lay them out pretty organized here because once again I'm very forgetful, so I want to like label everything and just lay it out as neatly as I can. Shit. That is a strong O-ring. So for this, the bolts are here. 1, 2, 3. Those are all 14 millimeters. 4. And there was a nut here. That was the 5th one. So I tried to slide it off of the stud and leave the stud there, but it's easier if you just take that stud out, and it's like an inverse Torx. So there's the AC compressor. It's heavy. Put this in our get rid of box. Whoever messed with these before. I mean, it could be anybody, but these are stripped on this one and this one. So, need to get new bolts for that. They're way too tight over here on these plastic ones. This right here is loose. Not sure how that, looks like there's a screw right here. I'm not sure what else holds that in, but it's loose. I put some PB blaster on here like 30 minutes ago, or maybe longer. Nice. Alright, let's see, let's do that. Fuck, that one did not have PB blaster on it. Holy shit. Okay. This one, the whole stud came out. Yeah, I think it was supposed to stay in there, so I'm gonna put some PB blaster on this, get it off of here, and put the stud back in there. So it's got an extra bung here. I think if you want to run a wideband, and then the regular one here. It looks like it's farther down, so hopefully it'll reach. See how it looks. Just want to see it. I mean, not really a test fit, you know, because it's not in the car. But I just want to see it, man. I want to see it on there. That looks good. That is sick. hold it for a second. It's not as hard anymore. It's pretty broken. There you go. Okay, I'm good.
Okay.
Woo!
Here.
Okay, so I rented this harmonic balancer puller from AutoZone. Basically, if you rent any tools from them, they're free. You just basically use it, don't break it, and return it, you get your full money back. So it's definitely a good deal to rent stuff you're not going to use very often. It's 27019 from AutoZone, and I think this is going to work. I haven't tried it yet. I'm going to go ahead and try it here on camera. These threaded holes basically are there to allow you to pull it. So you can see what it comes with. This part here, you'll put up against here. So you want to do this without the crank bolt in. And basically it's tapered so that it goes into that hole there. We have this, which is like, I'm not sure what you call it, but basically you find the right bolts that thread into those holes. And when you find the right bolts, that's what you're going to use on the outer pieces of this. Now I looked at these and I haven't tried to see which one fits yet, but only 2 of them are threaded, I believe, just from looking at it. These 2 right here, the smaller ones, are threaded. So I'm just making sure that it actually goes in without resistance because I don't want to strip the threads on the crank pulley. It seems like it's going in without a problem. Now if you didn't have the right thread pitch on the bolts, you could always just find the right thread that goes in here and get a bolt that's long enough for the puller. I think these will work. So make sure they're roughly even. Like I said, if for whatever reason your crank doesn't accept the bolts, you can always use whatever the correct thread pitch is. Just bring some bolts and try to thread them in there. I think these are the right ones. They went in without any hesitation, so I believe they'll work. And it seems like this puller will work. There's other types that people use, like claw types, which kind of like grab the outside of it and pull it, but I want to try this one first. Seems to be coming off pretty smoothly. Oh, almost dropped it. Yeah. Came off pretty smoothly after the first couple turns, so there it is. You can see this is keyed to the crank, so it should only go on the crank one way. You can see the key up here. There's also a couple Allen bolts as well. See if I know what size it is. Yep, this one here. What was it? Come off. So I'm just marking on the belt with the marker some lines. It just helped me personally with putting on the new belt. So I do have the new belt here. This is part number 13568-46010. I'm just going to transfer these marks onto the new belt. It kind of just helps me out. So now that I've marked up the belt, it's time to take the belt off, and I need to loosen up the tensioner. But one of the bolts back here is actually hard to access with the alternator in the way, so I'm going to go ahead and move the alternator out of here. I do have to unbolt the alternator anyway to get to the water pump up here, so might as well just remove the whole thing since it's only really 2 bolts. It's still kind of, there you go. There you go. Came loose. There it is. There's the belt. So one thing you might notice on the belts here when you get them, the old belt has a part number 13568 46040, and the new part has a part number 13568 46010. So a lot of times part numbers might get updated or superseded. So that you might see a lot in this car because it is an older engine. And I'm sure some of these part numbers have been updated over time. So I noticed that with a few of the other parts. I searched probably multiple different websites, and I would say at least 10 different websites, looking up parts, making sure I had the right parts, looking up different parts websites, eBay, forums, Toyota parts databases, and these are both the same belt, basically. I think one of them's an updated part number. I might just go ahead and count the number of cords, number of ribs in the belt. Okay, so in order to pull the timing gear off the crankshaft, I needed to find 2 new bolts to use for the puller tool, and these are M6 by 1.0 thread, and they're 65 millimeters long. So this is the length you need at least. I didn't go to an auto parts store. I went to Home Depot to get this, and the only downside is this doesn't have a really wide head, so you need to use a washer. So I have this washer here, and basically it's going to go into the puller like that, and it's going to thread into the gear. So I'll show you guys that right now. I'm just going to make sure this is even, and then go ahead and tighten that down. Yep, it's coming out now. I didn't even let it sit for very long. Before I go too much further, I almost messed up. You guys who build JZs probably caught this before I did, if you're just watching this, but I noticed that there's a thing here that's kind of blocking it, and I almost didn't notice that. I was like, looked like it's good, but I almost didn't catch this. So you can see these washers just straight up got killed. These were bending a little bit because I guess they're just too close to this angle here. But it worked. I'm glad these bolts worked, and if these bolts broke, it wouldn't have been a big deal. They're just bolts. They're just like $2. I've seen people use the claw type, which is also like a puller, and the only thing is that kind of goes around that, and then you do the same thing. You hold it in the middle, but you pull it like that instead. And I'd rather pull it like this instead of possibly damaging, you know, these teeth here. There's the front seal for the crankshaft. All right, next up is the actual pulley, and you can see just kind of pivots on this. You'll need one of these. Not sure what size it is. There you go. So this one is 10 mil. If you guys don't have a set of these are definitely useful. So I decided I'm gonna basically paint the block. I didn't know if I was gonna do that at first just because I wanted to make sure to get it done in a reasonable amount of time, but I'm like, you know what, while I have it out, I'm gonna go ahead and paint it now. And because I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna go ahead and take everything else off the block. I'm gonna start, first of all, with kind of taking a look at all these wires. I know I'm gonna have to redo some of the wiring, a lot of the wiring actually, but I'm just gonna label it right now based on what I think is like the easiest way to recognize where the wires go. Okay, so next I'm going to go ahead and remove the J-pipe. It bolts onto the head with a bolt here, and then it bolts onto the turbo with 2 bolts. And then there's this line here that's connected to it, I need to remove that. And there's a rubber hose here going to the valve cover. So, and then there's this hose back here. But other than that, I think that's basically everything that's connected to it. There's 2 lines, one here, one here. This is a 14 back here going to the head. I'm going to start taking off these 2 lines that are connected to it. This one might be a pain because it's so short. Hard to really like twist it, but well, actually there you go. It's twisted there. It's loose enough, but it's hard to like really pull it off with as short as it is. but there's this vacuum line, or I'm not sure what kind, but it's a hard line. It kind of is part of, it runs along the J-pipe and then it connects to the turbo down here. And I've been disconnecting it, and like, there's two different spots on the J-pipe here and then one here, which I've been trying to disconnect, but really I could have just disconnected it from the turbo side. But I'm gonna remove it from here anyways. There it is. So just tape them up to keep the bolts with the actual line here. There's 4 of them. And here's the turbo. And I'm not sure if you can see, but there's a little bit of oil right here. There's a very like hair amount of play, but I think that's normal to have a small amount. Yeah. There's a gasket. I think I'm gonna have to get new gaskets for this. Don't want to bolt it in. I mean, it's probably fine, but I'll probably get new gaskets. So I'm not sure if the oil means there's a leak somewhere, or if it's just like blow by. But yeah, there's oil right there. So before I do the exhaust, I'm gonna hit it with some PV Blaster. Then the heat shield, and then also down here on the actual bolts to the head. So a little bit will be fine. So these don't really need too much time, just a couple minutes on the PV Blaster. Only on the really hard stuff you really need to let it sit for a while. These are a little rusted. Don't want them to snap. So I am going to loosen them a little bit. Maybe put a little bit more in there. Not sure if I mentioned this, but these are 12s for the heat shield. Probably just clean that up and do a quick spray on it. These look pretty bad, so I'm gonna hit these again. Just let them sit for a little bit. I'm also taking the motor mount bolts while I'm back here, because I gotta take that off. So I'm underneath the turbo now and I need to remove these bolts for the oil drain. It's a 12 mil. I'm gonna go ahead and mask this off so dirt and stuff doesn't get in there. But I am gonna be replacing this. It's kind of wet though. I am gonna be replacing this oil pan. See if I can dry that off so I can put some tape on it. And it looks like there's also a feed line back here. I think this is the feed line for the oil, for the turbo. But it is connected to the turbo, so I need to remove that as well. I'm not sure if any oil is going to come out, but I'm going to have the pan ready just in case. So yeah, that's pretty much the only bolt there besides I think the manifold now. I let the manifold bolts kind of sit in PB Blaster overnight, so it's the next night right now, but I let these sit for almost 24 hours. Hopefully they should come out without any problem, but you never know. Looks like there's about 10 bolts. And I don't think there's any specific pattern to remove the manifold bolts like there is, you know, head bolts and stuff, cam bolts and stuff like that, but I'm going to go ahead and just kind of loosen them only a little bit. So the bottom ones are bolts, the top ones are studs with nuts. I mean, it looks like the manifold's kind of stuck, so it won't just fall off. I still got my leg here just in case. Alright, there it is. There's the exhaust manifold. There's the turbo. Nice. Could work out with this. Pretty hefty. Alright, there's the exhaust manifold. You can see a little bit of coolant came out. And yes, pretty heavy. Not too big, but pretty heavy. You know, it's cast. So, and I just made sure not to like rest it on these thinner lines here, and just kind of resting it on the manifold and the pipe up there, which I believe, I don't know, it's really pretty sturdy. All right, I'm pretty excited that we're at this point as far as the exhaust side being almost completely off, and just need to get this mount off of here. Water pump next. But yeah, we're pretty good, rocking and rolling. Weren't too bad. So here's a mount. Basically, I'm gonna have to put a new mount on it. I think Drift Motion sells the bracket that mounts this engine to the stock Mark III mounts. And I could probably stand to get new mounts, but I definitely need the brackets for sure. Get it right. Get that side, get that side. Get that fuel right there. It's hanging up here, up here, up here.
Okay,
Up
this.
there, up here, up top. Yeah, that. Down slowly. 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 Woo! Yes. stick. Oh, shit. Huh?
It's a little hard.
There you go. Wasn't bad.
Did we get it?
Yeah, hold on. There might be one inside too. I'm not sure. Uh-oh. What's gonna come out? One inside is a little bit smaller. Thank God. Hold this. Hold on a second. Come here. Hold this. Hold it from the tip. Pull it both. Actually, I'm gonna put it here. Now hold it. Ready? There you go.
We got it?
Hold that. So after taking them out of the oven the first time, I noticed some blotching, and I think it was just due to like a little bit of overspray. So I took them back into the garage, sanded them down a little bit more, resprayed them a couple times, and then put them back in the oven. So they look a lot better now. You can see from the clips. They're not perfect though, but I think I'm happy with them. I think I'm really liking this look. Now I'm gonna make an unpopular decision here. You guys will probably roast me in the comments like you do, but I'm not going to replace the head gasket at this time. Not gonna pull the head off. Like I've said in a past video, I don't wanna go down a rabbit hole right now. Now, if I end up having to replace it for whatever reason, I will eat my own words. You guys can laugh at me, but I think that when I do end up replacing it, it's gonna be just because I'm in there doing some other work and I wouldn't mind replacing it. With that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and clean up the head and clean up the block and paint just the block.